Why Clarity Media? Whew, that's a great question. And I think the most relatable reason is I didn't set out to make money when I designed this. Well, let me rephrase that. When the universe gave this to me, I didn't set out to make money. I set out to solve a problem that I saw in my own personal life with small businesses. Both my stepfather and my biological father were small business owners. They both have recently passed, and they were both hard workers. But even hard work can't outwork not having the proper strategy, support, or the right partners. And, I spent the last couple months with my father, who was dying of cancer and who also had a failing business. So I saw it firsthand, going into his business and trying to create some motion. And it was just a sad thing for a child to see his father in something for over 15, 20 years and to see it just slip away from him. So even in my father's death, he and I both knew the heartbreak that he was feeling, not just from losing his life, but from me finding out that his business was failing. And we never had a conversation about it. I mean, he was never healthy enough after that to for me to even bring it up, and it was a moot point at that juncture in our relationship. But it broke me. Soon thereafter, a couple months after my father passed, I would give away everything I owned, and I would disappear into the mountains of Colorado for 40 days. And with me, I took 20 books, strategic books, that pretty much summed up a complete human. We're talking about anything from philosophy to psychology to religion to spirituality, and some of the hidden, esoteric knowledge that we don't hear a lot about. The intent was to get the answer that everyone is always asking: what am I doing here? And during this time, I'm mourning the loss of my father, the loss of the relationship that we didn't get to build. And I'm asking the universe, what am I doing here now? Right? I've lived up to this point, and everything that I've learned and obtained from my environment hasn't given me the answers that has satisfied my soul. What am I doing? And I probably hiked a little bit over 70 miles that 40 days, which really isn't a lot, but it was life changing. And in the woods of Colorado, the universe gave me the seed for Clarity Media. And this was 2019. So over these last 5, 6 years, I stuck with it, going back to, a real job when things got tough, because the idea wasn't built out, but I kept asking for more. I kept seeking for a better resolution for small businesses. And with the onset of AI, we don't see the lift in small businesses like we intended. And there's no reports. And so right now, small businesses are failing at a faster click because they don't have the manpower to research what needs to be done, then have someone come into the business and tell them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And so my team and we came up with a DNA report. And the DNA report for a small business is the same as it would be for a human. This DNA report, the abbreviations are different. Digital network analysis is what our small business DNA report is in totality. The core of that is the digital footprint of the business. We do a full-blown analysis of the entire business's digital footprint. And essentially that boils down to, can someone find you if they're looking for you on the digital highway? We start there because that's where everything begins. Most people aren't walking outside and walking the block to say, hey, I want to get some food. Let's walk around. Now, I'm sure it's some crazy people out there just walking around getting their steps in, which is great. But the majority of us are going to our phone. We're either going to Google, we're going to Google Maps, we're going to ChatGPT, we're going to AI, and we're asking them, where can I find blah, 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 right? And so the first thing a business needs to know is, how am I showing up in the space where all businesses should show up. And we do that full-blown analysis, and we find all the gaps, anywhere from reputation management to website SEO to website strength to social media footprint. My team and I, we go even a step further. We even do an insider report, unbeknownst to the owners. We're dressed in regular clothes, and we do a on-site, in-store analysis. How do people feel when they're in the store? How does the employees treat the clients when they're in the store? How does the business welcome the community? And we believe that a full spectrum process for a small business cares just as much as they care about their digital footprint, their media, and the way that they engage. And we call that an engagement director. Our team of 3, each person is designated to their sector of the business. And we come into the business to do one thing, to turn it around. And that DNA report is the sole foundation that we use to start our work. It's kind of like going to the doctor and figuring out why your blood pressure is high. We actually show up inside the business and perform a small business checkup, which is the DNA report. And so right now, we are doing a discount for the DNA reports. For one, businesses are having a really tough time right now. And if small businesses fail, middle class America fails, and then you know what happens next. And so not that we shouldn't always focus on small businesses, but we've got to focus more on small businesses than we ever have before. There is a plethora of people out there now who are skilled workers, and we need to find places for them to plug and play so that they can build up our small businesses in America. And that's our sole purpose and our sole reason. And I know I got off track, which that'll happen a lot. I grew up in the Baptist church, so I will talk your ear off. I got off track, and I want to go back and piggyback on that DNA report. The digital network analysis report is something that we can email to a business, but we would prefer to walk a business through it because you're going to have questions. Most businesses have questions because there are things on there that you typically wouldn't be able to see yourself. You would have to hire a marketing company to run this report. And essentially, it takes your name, your address, and your phone number, and it runs it through all the platforms that give the website digital information. And it makes sure that the business's name, number, address is the same, because if it's not, when someone goes to search you, you get a lower score and you don't come up to the top of the search value. And so we focus on every aspect of the business. And last but definitely not least, imagine having your on-site digital team. We're talking about someone that takes photography, someone that does videography, but not only that, a podcast inside the business, created, produced, staffed, and monetized for the business, right? And this is your podcast that we create for the business, because nothing tells your story better than the story, right? We're interviewing clients of the business, employees of the business, because we want to hear from them. The only way for people to know how great your business is to ask people who've been in the business. They're the best ones to tell the story. And so we look at this from a full spectrum approach. It's holistic because everything on this planet is holistic. When you go to the doctor, a lot of times one thing is causing two things, and two things are causing another thing. And so we're all connected. Everything's connected. So we power our entire business model off of unity, which is why there's a team that comes into the business. Because look, clearly I could probably do most of it to an average degree, but imagine someone focusing on that specific sector of the business weekly. Our team shows up weekly into the business. Once you sign up with us, baby, it's a partnership. And so one of the things we pride ourselves on is showing up inside the business, because it's easy to sell a product to someone over the phone. It's easy to go and have them sign a contract and then disappear into the ether. But it's a different relationship when you sell the product, you show up inside the business to build it with the business. There's no easier way to implement artificial intelligence inside of a business than to have a partner there, finding the best solutions for the business, implementing it inside the business with the business's main team on the front line, learning everything and cohesively integrating the AI into the business. Because we know now that most jobs can be done by AI, but there are some jobs that human beings have to do. And so our job is to find those jobs and designate them for the proper person so that they can be executed at the highest level. Lee Hall, Clarity Media, we can't wait to see the magic we create together. Artificial intelligence is going to be one of the biggest inventions we've seen. But what we have really started to see is companies selling artificial intelligence are outpacing the businesses that they're selling them to. Now, I know you're going to say, Lee, that happens sometimes. And I get it, right? Execution and sales, I get it. But the one thing that I don't feel comfortable with is knowing that AI, artificial intelligence, people who are selling the product, the software, whatever the solution is, are outpacing the group that we're trying to help grow. It's a weird feeling. And the reason why it's happening is because every artificial solution is not meant for everyone, right? It's like a suit. It's a custom suit. And so when you're bringing AI into the business, you have to have an AI strategist to map out when and where AI should be present and how to close the gaps. Because let's be clear, you're going to end up with AI, right? You may as well install it properly from the beginning so that you can grow faster than the competition. And not only that, installing AI into the business properly takes pressure off the humans in the business, which allow them to do their job at a higher level, and your employees will be happier while you're offloading tasks that should and definitely will be done by artificial intelligence. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is coming to the business with all the problems and then delivering on all the solutions. Then we show up and we tackle them inside the business. The process. Okay, now I will say this is a new thing. We are a SaaSial media agency. Now, SaaSial is the combination of SaaS and social combined together. And I did that because most software, even software as a service, is either sold to a business, done for them, or sold to a business, done with them, right? But someone sells you something over the phone and then okay, great, I'll see you next year. And there's no social interaction there. Well, I took the software context and I made it into a small business tactical team, which does everything. And so inside this team, you have a 3-team member platform. You have a digital director who is solely responsible for everything digital, AI, artificial intelligence, everything digital. This individual is in charge of AI. This person is in charge of everything digital. We're talking websites, artificial intelligence, social media content, how it's placed, how it's responding. This person is in your business weekly, making sure that not only that what we install is performing, but what we're collecting is also observed, right? Because our software collects data. And so we have reports on performance daily. And so the person that manages this piece of the business is weekly updating us on how we're trending so that we can adjust and pivot when necessary. The second team member is the engagement director. And by far, I believe having an engagement director is a true game changer because this individual's sole responsibility is to make sure that the business is connecting with its clients. This person is creating, this person This person is creating events based on the demographic that the business is going after or the demographic of the business. What that looks like is this. Um, for instance, Ari's Pantry is downtown. And if you haven't been to Ari's Pantry, you're missing out. They have some of the best Italian pasta, Italian treats you've ever had. And they're from all around the world. Ari is actually, he spent 10 years in Rome. So he knows his Italian food. But imagine Ari's Kitchen, they're well known. One of the things that we would do if we were partnering with them is we would start a podcast, right? And this podcast would spend time diving into the pasta, right? Why does he pick it? How does he pick it? Where does it come from? And then we'll have a pasta cook-off, right? We do a drawing where we have 10 or 20 of the clients that buy food from the place do this pasta cook-off, and they get to try the pastas and the sauces, but not only because that's fun, but because that's unity, right? We have to realize that the rise of artificial intelligence does not mean that we don't continue to increase our social side of this life. And that's doing more events within the business to formulate more communities inside the business. And so that's the engagement director's main role, to create events that grow the business, connect the business to the community weekly. The last but not least, the media director is responsible for all things photography, videography, and this individual will be responsible for the podcast. And so collectively, this team meets inside your business weekly, right? Imagine a strategic team coming into your business, attacking all the obstacles and eliminating them daily. And it's a beautiful thing. And I can't wait to see the magic we create together. Hey, Lee Hall, Clarity Media. We've been talking about this podcast for probably some of you, we've been talking for over 4 or 5 months. And I want to apologize. I've been juggling way too much. And so I've given some stuff away and I've toned back and I'm ready to kick this off. And so you guys will be receiving this video tonight. What's today? March 30th. Yeah. Monday, March 30th. I think that's 30th. And so you'll be receiving that email. If you could respond back to the email and let me know your available dates over the next 30 days, and let me know where I'm downtown. So we'll either be recording in this here, or we have a studio on 9. It's got 6 different places. It just depends. But I'm downtown. We have free parking, so you don't have to worry about that. When we schedule your time, of course, I'll give you instructions where to park, and then I'll meet you down there. But in the interim, respond back what times work best for you. To not give away everything, but the premise of this podcast is to not badmouth men or to badmouth women. The main goal to this podcast is to allow a space for regular individuals to present themselves in a setting that allows you to absorb who they are. I've been on dating apps for the last year, and I won't lie. I haven't been single in a while, but the game has changed, and I don't like it. And I don't believe that it's me. It's not you. It's the environment that we're in. I think that we need to start having better conversations if we want to have better outcomes. And so the main intent for this podcast is to talk through where you are, where we are dating in general, and what we plan to do about it. The main purpose of this is to make sure that we're presenting ourselves in a positive, transparent light, but more than anything, to start having conversations of building the bridge between man and woman, not creating content that continues to tear it down. I believe that we as a collective whole are better than the media is telling us we are. I think that when you hear all the time that dating sucks and this and that and websites suck, all that kind of stuff, it feeds into a narrative that we portray, even if it's not real. And so I want to start interviewing people that I know are solid individuals who are looking for serious relationships so that we can start creating a better space for both of us. Lee Hall, Clarity Media, I can't wait to see the magic we create together. And so essentially, when we come into a business, we're coming in for everything. And look, I've been told more than a dozen times that this is too much. It's too inclusive. You should sell one item and then build it up. And look, there's a lot of truth to that. But imagine a team coming into your business, giving you the full lay of the land, all the broken spaces, all the issues, all the ways that you can be better, and then them start on them immediately. And by week after the first month, imagine every broken pipe in your business has been replaced. And now the business is not only humming, but it's thriving because now it can perform like it's always meant to, unified. And it's one of the main things that we focus on, digital unity. What that looks like is this. The software that we offer connects the entire business under one digital rooftop. That means that whether it's your social media, whether it's your Google My Business, whether it's email, whether it's text, whether it's phone, all that is consolidated into one software so that it can manage it like a body, like a human being, right? And so every time the business is touched from any portion of the business, whether it's a text message from Google My Business, whether it's a message from Instagram or a TikTok message, that message comes into the business and it's dealt with immediately because everything's connected. You have a unified digital dashboard where all of your social media lives. You don't have to log into different social media outlets to share content or to respond because it's already built out. And one of the things we brag about the most is our time to value, and that's called TTV. And essentially what TTV or time to value means in business is how long does it take for whatever you purchase to show its value, right? And our time to value is 24 hours. When you say yes, Lee, on the dotted line, unless it's 9 o'clock at night, but no, even 24 hours, by 9 o'clock the next day, you've already seen the value. Because in 24 hours, my team and I have already built out one of the most strategic digital employees that you've ever had. And that individual will be equipped to answer phone calls, book appointments, answer questions, transfer calls, do anything. And so you'll never miss a call, which that in of itself solves a third of small businesses' problems, not having enough coverage to cover the business they already have. Not having enough coverage to cover the business that they already have. And so immediately that's taken care of. And in the first 24 hours, I've probably convinced you to turn your website into a talking website. And what that means is when someone goes to your website, your receptionist pops up and asks them, do they have any questions? Now, this receptionist can do anything. He or she can book appointments, can answer business questions, can send text messages to team members if it's after hours, or can just answer basic questions and not have clients waiting. And the beauty in that is you always have a team member, whether it's human or digital, handling your clients because that's the way it should be. And then hopefully after that, I've convinced you that we need to do a podcast. And so within 72 hours, we've already got your podcast concept, content built out, right? And now we're just working on who are we going to get to be on the podcast. And so we're going to be there finding clients, employees to be on the podcast for the business. And the business concepts are all strategic. They're just like a custom suit. When we come into the business, we build the podcast around what's best for the business. And so you have your own lane to tell your own story in the most organic, authentic way possible. And this is all done for you. Now, this package is our highest package where each team member comes into the business weekly to perform their task. And all these things that we find in the business, you're updated on weekly on the progression of where we've done. So imagine us walking in and we give you your report. Hey, John, here's your DNA report, your digital network analysis. This is what we found. The digital person presents their report. The engagement director, he or she presents their report. They have a full-blown content calendar set out with ideas for events for the business that he or she gives to you. Then your last report comes from our media director. This media director has already scoped out your social media and can tell you what photos you need, what videos you need, and what content is missing from the social media engagement. So in one setting, you've got a full-blown checkout in less than 2 hours. You know everything that's broken in the business. And that's not even the beauty of it. Knowing is only half the battle. But we present these reports because we can fix them, right? This report is identifying items that we know we can fix. And so once we sign and we're off to the races, we are moving at hyperspeed because the intent is to get this executed as fast as possible because time is of the essence. And with small businesses, time is even more precious than with corporate businesses.